I mean, the only thing I could think, like, and this is again just putting hypotheticals out there, but what else could have happened? And I did notice something that I really hadn't seen before. Let me go down to here. When we're talking about Dylan's account, this kind of took me back because I've been under this impression. I kind of repeated this theory I heard on another creator's channel because I heard that they were very close to the Gonzalez family and they spoke with them. So I listened to what they said, but now that I'm reading this, it doesn't make sense. This creator said that when the rustling happened with the dog, that Dylan was laying in bed and that yelling was Kaylee yelling down. But what it sounds like, the PCA clearly states that they're surmising that was Xana. And what's really interesting about the way it's laid out is the chain of events happens where she hears a dog, what sounds like somebody playing with dog, but it's clearly just dog noises. So she hears dog noises. Then she hears crying out. She hears somebody say, "There's someone here." And that was Xana, according to the PCA. They blatantly say that. And then she hears crying. She opens the door. And then she hears a male voice say, "It's okay. I'm here to help you." So here's the key thing. If Xana was crying before somebody said there's someone here to help you, and it's after the DoorDash order, why was she crying? So to me, I'm wondering, did this start with Xana? Was she attacked first? And then when Dylan yelled out, did it, or whatever happened, when she said there's someone here, did the person come back because she was crying in pain and say, "I'm here to help"? I don't know if I explained that well, but I can break it down with the PCA. You guys have any immediate thoughts after I said that?
My opinion was always that Xana was caught off guard coming up the stairs with the DoorDash food, and the perpetrator was coming in through the back door, and the melee ensued right there, chasing her back towards the bedroom. I don't think she made it back to the bedroom, to be honest with you. That's why I've always said in the pictures, I see forensics doing a lot of work in the hallway that goes from the living room to Xana's room, and I feel the reason why is the attack actually happened outside of the room. That's the only way that I feel as though Dylan would hear her murmuring and, whining under the tone like she was whimpering and crying. And that's the only way someone's voice of "I'm here to help you" would be heard, because I highly doubt whoever's committing this crime is yelling, "I'm here to help you" at the top of their voice. They'd be saying it in a calm, collected, quieter voice, meaning you're closer to Dylan's room, meaning you're not in the actual bedroom. So, just my opinion.
And I agree with you, brother. But what I would like to know is, we have the 1112 King Road camera, basically the light bulb camera that heard those, the sound of a thud in Xana's room. Could that have been maybe Ethan getting slammed up against the wall? We don't know.
That would be my opinion. I think Ethan probably was trying to come out of the bedroom when he heard Xana. And that might have been Ethan saying, "I'm here to help you." And then he got overtaken, which would, in my opinion, if I got to take out a bigger guy than me, and unfortunately I've been in a few little melees in my lifetime, and most of them have been with people bigger than me, I have to try to drive them back and get underneath them. But the thing about it is, like, everybody's saying how much bigger Ethan is than Brian Koberger. I don't fully agree with that. I mean, Koberger's not the smallest of guys. I think that if you catch that bigger guy off guard, you drive him back with the knife into the wall, and there's your thud. And that would be your falling victim in the bedroom, which I don't think actually took his life immediately. I think he was devastated, and when they say that his throat was sliced, that would be the all end, of that fight. I believe they were close-knit fighting, and then the last take would be the knife to the throat, which would mean, in my opinion, I don't think Ethan passed right away. I think he tried to crawl towards the door to where he could try to get help in the living room or where Xana may be, and that's how he came to the end result of the back of the door, making it hard for someone to push it open to get in.
Do you guys mind if I just quickly go over this chain of events I was just talking about? It's only like a paragraph and a half, but I kind of highlighted it. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through what I just said, but it'll be faster because I'm reading this. So let me go back up to, we're going to start at 4 a.m. So I'll just read the whole paragraph. So DM and BF both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were at the home by 2 a.m. and asleep or at least in their rooms by 4 a.m. This with the exception of Kernodle, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. And I'll get back to the DoorDash in a second. DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. DM stated she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Gonzalez with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. So I emphasized that because she said what sounded like Gonzalez playing with her dog. She doesn't say at that moment that she's actually hearing Kaylee's voice, because next she does mention voice, but she doesn't mention it here. She says playing with the dog. So for me, if she's hearing the dog, she's not hearing the dog in the struggle at the crime scene. The dog had no evidence on it. So she's hearing the dog barking and making noise. So it was either in the kennel or in the room, but the dog was making noise. And it's interesting because the dog is mentioned here, and then the dog is mentioned again at 4:17, like they were mentioning in that video. So that means this dog was barking for 20 minutes. That's what it sounds like to me. Because if the dog's barking here at 4 a.m., it sounds like it's playing. And then it's also barking on the video at 4:17. There's a huge amount of noise going on. So I'm getting out the dog noise and that she's not mentioning Kaylee. Let me just read on and then I'll get to the part about Kaylee's voice. So Gonzalez playing with her dog in the upstairs room, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Gonzalez say something to the effect of there's someone here. But the police added this to Dylan's statement. This is what's crazy is they're contradicting Dylan in it. They're saying a review of records obtained from forensic download of Kernodle's phone. So this could also have been Kernodle so they're not contradicting her. They're giving another alternative to this. It could have been Kernodle as her cellular phone activity indicated that she was likely awake and using TikTok at approximately 4:12. So I'm wondering this. If the police suggested that it was Kernodle and not Gonzalez, does that mean that Dylan described there's someone here as something less than a scream? Or, I mean, why did the police think someone on the second floor, not someone on the third floor? Because if it had been a violent scream, I mean, why did they suggest something other than what Dylan said? That's what's interesting about it. Is like they, for some reason, put another alternative in there about who said it. Let me keep going. So DM stated she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. So DM stated she opened the door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room. So the crying happened first, okay? DM then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm trying to help you." So the part that I guess I never had in my head is Xana is crying. And then, so she's crying about something. There's already been an announcement, somebody's in the home, regardless if it was her or somebody else. Somebody's already screamed this. There's already a dog barking, and Xana's already crying. So then why does a male voice come and say, "I'm here to help"? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like he came back. And I'm sorry for saying these triggering things, but it sounds like he came back to finish the job.
Well, yeah, that's 100% my opinion. I think you're absolutely right. I think he did what he could initially. This is why I also feel like he knew. I keep saying he. It's whoever committed this crime, because I'm not fully, like I said, 100% convinced I know or think who committed this crime. So it could be more than one person as well. To me, more than one person makes far more sense than one person. But I feel like they would have left that initial attack area, which means that they wouldn't have attacked Ethan yet. They went upstairs, they got into the melee. On their way down, I don't know if Ethan would have already come out of the bedroom and was trying to help Xana, and that's where the attack took place on Ethan, driving him back into the room against the wall, where you hear the thud, the finishing of, I hate to say it, the throat gash that they say is probably the fatal blow. He fell, tried crawling to the door through time. I don't think he died right away. I've seen people stabbed in the neck live for quite a while. And I think that Xana perished in the hallway. I don't think she made it back in the bedroom. And that's why I also think that in the morning when 911 was actually called, the people that were in the home that found the bodies reacted immediately to seeing Xana's body in the hallway and ran back out of the house and were doing all they could to call 911. I'm not sure I fully believe any story that somebody was trying to break into the bedroom or anything of that nature. If they were, it's because, in my opinion, they stepped over Xana's body and they were trying to find out if Ethan was okay or not, and then realized the trouble that was happening. And that's when they retreated to call 911. And where all of this comes into disarray, I mean, we've all scratched our head thinking about Bethany and Dylan, and we picked them apart. We've tried to be supportive. We've looked at it every single angle that we possibly can to try to better understand it. And we're not going to know fully what Dylan's story is until we get to trial. And I do see Texas Ranger ask a question in regards to blood on the foundation and stuff of that nature. I believe there is a massive amount of blood in this crime scene, and that's why they took floorboards, they took pieces of the wall out. I believe when we get to the actual evidence hearings where some of this starts coming out, we're going to find out there's far more blood in this crime scene than what people have been led to believe. I know many people have talked about a cleaned up crime scene, that this was a very clean crime scene for this type of crime, and I just don't feel it's going to be that case, especially considering they were tearing the kitchen apart. There's evidence in there, and it's going to be blood evidence, it's going to be splatter evidence, it's going to be everywhere. I also believe they're going to have footprints that they haven't let out for us to know. I think there's, at the end of the day, I think they found the murder weapon. I think they found the weapon in the crime scene, and they just haven't stated that. Or at least one of the weapons, if more than one was used. Maybe they just released the K-bar, and that's one they didn't find, but they have others, like a golf club or something else that was used in there. This is 4 people tragically, lives taken. I don't think it's one blade. I don't think it's one knife. And they never searched for it. If they felt like they had this big route that he drove that night, they put out the big map. When did we ever see any search teams looking for clothes or looking for a weapon? Or it didn't happen. I mean, it didn't happen. So
Twisted Stick made the comment. It's only clean outside of the bedrooms, according to Mabbitt.
Mabbitt speaks, and did anybody really believe what she was saying? No. It felt as if she was speaking, trying to be careful to not cross the boundaries of what law enforcement was wanting her to state or release. So she was confused on what to say or not to say. And then, the professionalism of that, where I kind of fall into an issue, is she literally she called the Gonzalez family home and spoke to a minor in regards to the wounds of Kaylee, and that's unprofessional, and it kind of shows where maybe she's not truly capable either of her position. So
Yeah, because I think it wasn't it like Kaylee's like 17-year-old sister that Mabit had called and then told her the gory and graphic details of how her sister died, and then the sister gave the phone to Christy. Why would you tell a minor? Why would you tell a minor exactly how her sister died?
Yeah, that's unfortunately that's what I understood happened. Now, whether that's truly what happened, I don't know. I hope it's not, but it sounds like that is what happened. And Kiki, I'm sorry if I overtook what you have to say. I definitely want you to chime in and speak up. So unmute yourself and speak.
Thank you for reminding me to mute myself. I appreciate that. I'm just enjoying listening to what you guys have to say, because it's nice when I bring something up that's, that's thought provoking to me, and I get the same response from you guys. I do appreciate that. And then, what I had brought up while you guys were talking, because you were talking about where the location was. We don't know that, but I wanted to bring up what I do have for receipts before the gag order. And I got these from an article. I have everything up here so that you guys can know exactly where I got it. Let me go to the first page. So it was this article where I found it. So he is saying that he doesn't know if it's the stepbrother or the brother-in-law, but he confirmed the source as to real. I am not saying I confirmed it. I'm saying Ted Bauer, who's a pretty regular blogger on this site, and he's a paid blogger. Like, you have to get through a paywall to read his stuff. He's the one who brought up these receipts, and he brought another place they were verified. I want to say it was People Magazine, but it also could have been the Mirror. Anyway, so this is what they say. The first one here says Ethan's sister-in-law. Yes. And again, not verified, just verified through this guy. And this is only speculation. Ethan's sister-in-law allegedly says, verified in this article, yes, I hope it will come out what Dee heard. Dee supposedly called all the girls in the house after crying and screaming stop, and no one answered. And she still didn't call the police. She needs to explain herself and her actions that night. They're just asking for an explanation, And then the family and then it says down here, Ethan's sister-in-law went on to say, 911 caller was the friend who went in because Dee called him to come over because she was scared from what she had heard in the night. He went to X and E's room first and then called 911. Why D or B didn't call the police once is the question. And then the last statement she made pertaining to this was X and E were in her room. So, it doesn't mean that Ethan didn't start out in the hallway, but from what she's saying, they were in their room. And then if you remember back to the Chapin's interview, which was on the 17th, I think it was the 17th, just a few days after the crime, and they said they were in her room. They said the same thing. So, it's like we don't have the PCA necessarily stating that, but it sounds like at least in the morning they ended up there. Now, and again, trigger warning, whether Ethan made his way into the room afterwards, and I always thought maybe he shut the door and leaned up against it, or God forbid, somebody put him into the room. I don't know, but this is what the families had for information. And don't forget, Hunter and Maisie were there that morning. So it sounds like a pretty solid source to me. I don't know. What does the chat think here? What do you guys think?